Hello, this is Meg Okura. I am the composer for a piece titled Phantasmagoria. I'm here. This is the Bronx, New York, and I'm originally from Japan. This was a commissioned piece by Tasha Warren and Dave Egar, chamber music, you know, colleagues of mine. And they were not planning this, but it just timing turned out to be March of 2020. That's
Mm.
when they received the notification that they got this grant to commission me and several others. So they said, "Why don't you write something that's inspired by what's going on now, which is that uh, pandemic." I'm also a violinist myself, jazz violinist and jazz composer. So a lot of and my ensemble is called the Pan Asian Chamber Jazz Ensemble. It has it's a 10-piece orchestra. So a lot, I mean, everything stopped. So I'm
Uh,
grateful that I got this commission to actually write, to get really busy right away. So she asked in March, and I like pretty much started working on it right away during the pandemic, like March, April, probably May. What I was feeling at the time was that every morning I would wake up and then wonder if this is real. Like I couldn't tell if the pandemic, something like that was actually, it almost felt like, a dream. Like, and I couldn't tell. And I look around and even though everything is the same, but everything was different, right? So look around and then is this real, and is am I just dreaming, is this still a dream? And it wasn't. So kind of like the mirror, it's like the phantasmagoria is like, wow, is this, the surrealness of the time and what I was experiencing. My
uh,
ensemble, and then I also write for a typical 17-piece big band. I also written like a suite for a piano and violin duo, which also incorporates a lot of improvisation, but that also has, written parts as well. Commission was a little bit unique that they actually asked me to be a part of it as a performer as well.
okay.
So it was for, Tasha is a clarinetist and she wanted to play both clarinet and bass clarinet. And then Dave is a cellist. We go way back. We play hundreds of concerts together over the last few decades. And then myself. So I actually tried to write in some ways for me what I wanted to do with the violin in the and all the while they also wanted the kind of music that I'm known for, which is combining, jazz with some elements of, classical music and world music. Particularly, I have a lot of like Jewish Middle Eastern music and, of course, American music as well. So I try to incorporate those elements, because I'm writing for like a client, even though I'm part of the ensemble. So I had the idea. I wanted to start with one like just kind of surreal, one long note, almost like electronic sound in your head, in your brain, like one note. There's a name for it, I guess. I know how to say it in Japanese, but I forgot what it's called in English. So kind of like that. And then I also use my violin to, I would maybe I might have like um imagine those and channel those feelings and hit the record button and just like improvise, and when in some ways like crazy on that and let myself kind of create it using my instrument. That's
Really
part of the
cool.
code, but part of the process. It wasn't, like, going my piano like, or like pen. I mean, it was just kind of free. And then I mean, a lot of it was very like emotional and just it was just surreal. It's like my whole head, it just didn't feel right. So, um, so I just really kind of let my my thought, my I guess not even thought, my emotion and just feelings write it for me. I don't really consider myself, multi-instrumentalist,
Okay.
but it's interesting to appreciate learning a new instrument as an adult and approaching it from, that way. I don't come from the background. Like erhu is something that I added later in my life
Oh, okay.
because when I was studying out, people called me Asian violinist, and I said, oh, I don't play the Asian violin. I play the violin like everybody else. But then maybe I should. So that's why that's why I started. My erhu teacher said, you play the erhu, but you don't really play the erhu, like because I
Mm.
didn't come from the tradition. I came from the kind of, so I went from being able to play chromatics to trying to limit to like, well, we have 5 notes in the scale. It's like just five. so um and then I also appreciate like improvising on the erhu, which is a lot different because I feel more limited, just two strings and a lot of um so that might have, I don't know, maybe some positive effect on my composition, but I'm not really sure. Well, musically, it kind of opened my eyes because, see, I originally came from, I was a, full-time classical violinist. I was used to play like concertos and giving recitals to becoming a composer, to becoming a jazz composer. And then, because of through my old connection, through, my time at Juilliard School as a violinist, as a classical violinist, I had these connections. He knew like really well who I was as a musician, as an artist, and I'm talking about Dave Egar. So that just um, gave me the opportunity to sort of go back to opening my ears, and my heart to more classical music in order for me to achieve certain, I guess, um, excellence or even basic in jazz. I really kind of had to give up the classical part. Like I really
Mm.
had to start from scratch as a beginner. Again, as an adult, after I even got, master's degree from Juilliard School as a, violin performance major. Um, so, which has been like the most humbling process for me, to going back to classical and like to be kind of embraced as a composer, meaning that, oh, um, my music, the kind of music that I'm writing, could be appreciated by classical musicians and by performed by classical ensembles. Really uh, was a to me like a almost like a, I don't know, new perspective, I guess, gave me
Mm.
hope. I kind of reluctantly kind of, let that world go. And now I get to come back to it as a composer and be embraced and win a competition like this, right? Isn't that incredible? I mean, that's so like I get to now, because I feel like I wear a lot of hats, and I have a lot of different cultural like backgrounds and identities. So like I'm too jazz for classical, or too classical for jazz, or I'm an immigrant, but I'm the only one who looks like this in my neighborhood in the Bronx, or
Mm.
I don't speak Spanish. I'm too, yeah, too American for the Japanese, and too Japanese, I don't know. So but I feel like I get to be authentically myself and be accepted. When I first started my Pan Asian Chamber Jazz Ensemble, I used my experience, my identities, my multiple identities as a way to come up with composition. But now I do the opposite. I kind of use music to make sense of my complicated identities and find solace. Like the I feel like I need music more than ever to feel accepted and feel okay. Feel, I really I'm a music user as a composer and performer. I can't imagine how I could feel about my sort of, very complex identity. I mean, my husband, my daughter, they're Black. They identify as Black. And I don't, I can't. So, but as a jazz musician, I can fully embrace the African American culture and be a part of it through music. So I appreciate music, and I kind of need music like you need water and food. Like
Mm.
I don't think I could actually live like spiritually without music. I'm a violinist, so I could, as a jazz violinist, I could always be improving. So and
Mm.
I love playing with others, yeah, playing with other jazz musicians. That just yeah, gives me a lot of joy. For the last 13 years, I've been a mom. So I really never got to go out much at all until very recently. However, thank goodness people were hiring me to tour and perform with, not tour so much after I had, my daughter, but kept performing like even after, like, I think the first gig was maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I gave birth. So I kept, and then like until like 3 days before I gave birth, right? Like so
Mm.
I never so um and then I used to take the baby to my gigs. So anyway, so I felt like in New York City, I felt like after I graduated, as a classical musician, even before, I did a lot of just gigs, worked with many different incredible artists. Some of them are, have passed away, like David Bowie,
Mm.
Michael Brecker, Lee Konitz. I never said no, and I was just grateful for the opportunity. So, I even toured with Cirque du Soleil, as an improvising violinist. So, I learned a lot of music on the job, but it's not even like learning. It's I just wanted to absorb as many different types of music as possible and learn from the music, performing certain repertoires, playing the same, tunes or pieces, compositions, repeat, many times, because I think today what happens is that there's so much, just so much music available. And then I don't listen to the same thing over and over unless I'm performing somebody else's music. So I felt that that was like my free or actually paid education. So I have played with, incredible musicians like, Michael Brecker and the musical director, Gil Goldstein, and all the people, soloists in the band. I've worked with I don't know, just a lot of different people. Like Steve Swallow is an amazing, composer. I toured with Tom Harrell, Cembo Ensemble, Tom Harrell, the trumpet player. So a lot of like legendary people, and also like local New York award-winning composers such as like Emilio Soja, Erica Seguin, J.C. Samford, and Asuka Kakitani, we've done some projects together, who won the also solely 30 30 30. I've met a lot of great composers. Sometimes we collaborate, or sometimes I get to, if they have, violin on their in their bands, I get to play with those incredible contemporary composers, a few dozens of incredible artists that I, and colleagues that I have worked with, who definitely influenced me musically, because I did not major in composition or jazz. I had to do it on my own after I graduated. At Juilliard, actually, composition faculties, they begged me to switch majors. And I was like, what? Like this late? I just dedicated all of my life to playing the violin. Like you can't say to switch at this point in my life. So I was really mad, but then um, I ended up becoming a composer because I just couldn't help it. I don't come from a typical background, and sometimes I feel jealous of people who got to really like spend a lot of time studying, composition. But but then a lot of composers say they don't get to perform as much or they don't perform. One of my colleagues actually, when we went to Los Angeles, um, for the Henry Mancini Institute Orchestra. They had like a summer program, and I was a concertmaster and soloist there. And one of the composition, a fellow told me that in LA they said there are just so many composers today, and it's so hard to get your composition performed. So you should never stop performing. So then you get to play your own music, and I'm so grateful that I got that advice. Not even like that advice wasn't even given toward me, but I just kind of overheard it. And I know that like if I wanted to become a composer, I actually, instead of giving up my performing, playing the violin, I should just really, like maybe use studying jazz on the violin as a way to learn jazz and learn more music. So it kind of worked out, and I'm just so like forever grateful for that advice, because I think I would have probably gone to like a school and really studied and started over again as like a full-time composition student, but I gave up. I just didn't do that. I just got a fellowship to go to Asia.
Okay,
Yeah, to Vietnam
congratulations.
for thank you, Vietnam, for my research. So I that's the like the I've never gotten or apply for uh an opportunity like that. So I'm really excited to discover and really kind of want that to help me, you know, uh, with my identity, make it more cohesive and find discover something new, about myself and learn something new. So I'm very excited about it. I should have a new album coming out. I don't have any information yet, but my Pan Asian Chamber Jazz Ensemble featuring Randy Brecker. We finished it, it's mastered, it's finished. So I'm just working on making sure it gets released. So if you have any recommendations for labels or something, please let me know. I will start working on getting that out. And then, and Pan Asian Chamber Jazz Ensemble will be appearing in Winter Jazz Fest in January, and Wahi Jazz Fest in November. Oh, and then something in a few weeks as well. But yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks, and thank you so much for Soli. I mean, this is my really big accomplishment. I'm very proud and very grateful. Yes.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this interview and want to see more like it, check out the 30 by 30 by 30 playlist on our channel. For more information about the 30 by 30 by 30 project, check out the website linked to the right.